The screen opens with a sweeping aerial shot at dawn. A pale golden light stretches across the mist-covered plains of Salisbury Plain, where shadows slowly retreat to reveal one of the most iconic and enigmatic structures ever created by human hands: Stonehenge. For centuries, it has stood in silence, a ring of colossal stones, weathered by time, surrounded by endless questions. What was it built for? Who truly built it? And more importantly, why does it exist at all? Traditional explanations have long suggested that Stonehenge was a ceremonial site, perhaps an ancient calendar aligned with the movements of the sun. And while these theories offer fragments of understanding, they fail to explain the full complexity of the structure. Because Stonehenge is not just a monument, it is a system, a carefully engineered creation that reflects knowledge far deeper than previously imagined. But now, a new archaeological theory is beginning to reshape everything we thought we knew. As the camera glides closer, cutting through the morning fog, subtle details emerge: precise alignments, carefully positioned stones, and a landscape that appears anything but random. What once seemed isolated now appears connected. Thanks to modern technology, scientists have begun to uncover what lies beneath the surface. Using advanced laser scanning and ground-penetrating radar, researchers have revealed hidden structures buried deep within the earth, features that remained invisible for thousands of years. And what they found changes the story entirely. Stonehenge was not built alone. It was part of a vast and interconnected sacred landscape, an enormous network of monuments, pathways, and buried structures stretching across the plains. Circular enclosures, processional routes, subterranean features arranged with deliberate precision. Together, they form a complex system that suggests planning on a scale far beyond what was once believed possible. This was not a single construction project. It was a coordinated effort spanning generations. As the theory unfolds, a new image begins to take shape. Imagine a living landscape where every hill, every stone, every pathway holds meaning. A place where natural cycles, the movement of the sun, the changing of seasons, are not just observed, but integrated into the very fabric of human life. According to this new perspective, Stonehenge may have served as the central node of this system, a focal point where the physical world and human belief intersected. But to truly understand this, we must look beyond the stones and into the people who built them. For decades, one of the greatest mysteries has been the question of transportation. The massive sarsen stones, some weighing over 25 tons, were brought from distant locations. The smaller blue stones traveled even farther, over 200 kilometers from regions in Western Wales. How did ancient communities, without modern machinery, accomplish such a feat? Recent research offers a surprising answer. By analyzing soil composition, isotopic signatures, and traces left behind in the landscape, scientists have begun to reconstruct ancient movement patterns. These were not random migrations. They were organized journeys, carefully planned routes used to transport materials across vast distances. These early societies were not isolated tribes struggling for survival. They were highly coordinated communities, capable of mobilizing large groups of people, managing resources, and executing complex logistical operations. In other words, they were far more advanced than we once believed. And perhaps even more intriguing is the role of climate. Many traditional narratives ignore the environmental context of the time, but thousands of years ago, the climate of this region was different, warmer, more stable, supporting larger populations and more sustained activity. In such conditions, large-scale construction projects become not only possible, but inevitable. The building of Stonehenge may not have been an anomaly. It may have been the result of a thriving, organized society operating at its peak. As the camera shifts to ground level, moving slowly between the towering stones, we begin to notice something else: subtle variations in structure. Some stones appear older, others seem to have been repositioned, adjusted, replaced. This leads to one of the most fascinating aspects of the new theory. Stonehenge was never truly finished. It evolved. Over centuries, perhaps even millennia, it was continuously modified. Each generation adding, removing, and reshaping elements to reflect their own beliefs, needs, and understanding of the world. This was not a static monument frozen in time. It was a dynamic structure, a living system that grew alongside human consciousness itself. Nearby excavations have uncovered traces of settlements, temporary camps, and living areas used by the builders. Tools, animal remains, evidence of feasting and ritual activity. These findings provide a rare glimpse into the lives of the people behind the stones. They were not mysterious figures lost to time. They were communities, families, individuals with purpose, and they were part of something much larger. According to this new perspective, Stonehenge may have served as the central node of this system, a focal point where the physical world and human belief intersected. It was a convergence point, where science, spirituality, and social structure intersected, a place where the boundaries between the natural world and human belief began to blur. And yet, despite all we have discovered, the mystery remains, because with every new layer uncovered, new questions emerge. What inspired such a monumental effort? What belief system was powerful enough to unite people across vast distances? And what knowledge did they possess? Knowledge that allowed them to align stone, earth, and sky with such precision. As the sun rises fully above the horizon, casting long shadows through the stone circle, one final thought lingers. Perhaps Stonehenge is not just a relic of the past. Perhaps it is a message encoded in stone, waiting for us to understand. The wind moves softly across the grass, weaving between the towering stones of Stonehenge, as if carrying whispers from another time. The camera circles slowly, capturing the monument from above, revealing patterns that are almost invisible from the ground, but unmistakable when seen from the sky. What if these patterns were never meant for those standing within the circle? What if their true purpose could only be understood from a higher perspective? As researchers continue to analyze the geometry of the site, something extraordinary begins to emerge. The placement of the stones is not random. It follows precise alignments, not only with the solstices, as widely known, but with a broader network of points across the surrounding landscape. Ancient pathways radiate outward, connecting Stonehenge to distant locations, forming a web that suggests intentional design on a regional scale. This is where the new archaeological theory takes a bold turn. Instead of viewing Stonehenge as a single isolated monument, it proposes that we are looking at the center of a vast ceremonial system, one that functioned as both a spiritual hub and a social organizer for Neolithic communities. A place where rituals were performed, alliances were formed, and identities were shaped. But there is more. Recent isotopic analysis of human remains found in the area reveals something unexpected. The individuals buried near Stonehenge did not all originate from the same region. Some came from hundreds of kilometers away. Their bones carry chemical signatures that trace back to distant lands, suggesting long-distance movement on a scale rarely associated with prehistoric societies. This changes everything. It means that Stonehenge was not just important locally, it was a destination. A place people traveled to, perhaps for ceremonies, gatherings, or events tied to seasonal cycles. Imagine vast processions moving across the landscape, guided by memory, tradition, and shared belief, converging at this monumental site. A gathering point of the ancient world. And if people were traveling such distances, it raises another critical question. What drew them here? The answer may lie not only in the sky, but beneath the ground. Geophysical surveys have revealed subtle anomalies in the earth surrounding Stonehenge. Features that suggest the presence of buried ditches, pits, and even large wooden structures that once stood before the stones were erected. Some researchers believe that the site was already sacred long before the iconic stone circle was built. In this sense, Stonehenge was not the beginning. It was the continuation of something older, a tradition, a memory embedded in the land itself. This idea is further supported by the discovery of earlier construction phases. Before the massive sarsen stones were raised, the site may have been marked by timber posts or smaller markers, arranged in patterns that echo the later stone configuration. Over time, as techniques improved and communities grew more organized, these earlier elements were replaced with more permanent structures. Stone replacing wood, endurance replacing impermanence. But perhaps the most compelling aspect of this new theory lies in its interpretation of meaning. Rather than viewing Stonehenge purely as a tool for measuring time or tracking celestial events, it suggests that the monument functioned as a symbolic representation of order, a physical manifestation of how ancient people understood their place in the universe. The alignment with the solstices, for example, may not have been about practical timekeeping. It may have been about connection, linking human life to cosmic cycles, the rising and setting of the sun marking not just seasons, but transitions, birth, death, renewal. And in this context, the movement of people to and from the site becomes part of a larger narrative, a ritual journey, a shared experience that reinforced social bonds and collective identity. Stonehenge, then, becomes more than architecture. It becomes a story written not in words, but in stone, earth, and movement. As the camera drifts toward the horizon, showing the full expanse of Salisbury Plain, The scale of this ancient system becomes clear. What once appeared as an isolated circle now reveals itself as the heart of a much larger design, one that required vision, coordination, and a deep understanding of both the natural world and human society. And yet, for all its complexity, there is a simplicity at its core, a desire to connect, to understand, to belong. This is perhaps the most profound revelation of all, because in studying Stonehenge, we are not just uncovering the past, we are confronting the origins of human thought itself. The moment when we began to organize the world around us, to assign meaning to the sky, to gather in shared spaces and create something that would outlast us, a legacy carved into the earth. But even now, questions remain. Why this location? Why these materials? Why this design? And perhaps most importantly, what have we still not discovered? Because beneath the surface, hidden from view, there may still be structures waiting to be found. Clues yet to be uncovered, pieces of a puzzle that is far from complete. As the final light of day fades and the stones fall back into shadow, one truth becomes undeniable. Stonehenge is not a mystery that has been solved. It is a mystery that is still unfolding. And with every new discovery, we move one step closer, not just to understanding the monument, but to understanding ourselves,